Welcome, everyone. We're going to be talking about scaling AI, scale trusted AI adoption with Salesforce and AWS. My name is Shivani Ahuja, and I am one of your hosts today, but I'm joined by three gentlemen here. We've got Amit Bangad, Director Go-to-Market Applications from CrowdStrike. Welcome. Rishi, Principal Solution Architect from AWS, and we've got Praveen, who's the Managing Director from Deloitte Consulting over here. So good spread. And I am Shivani. I work at Salesforce, and I'm going to start with a small story of what my role at Salesforce is. But before I do, a love letter from our lawyer from Salesforce to say, please make all of your purchasing decisions on all of the products that are readily available today, not on any future-looking products that you might see. Obligated to say that. I try to say it in a way with love. Three things we're going to talk about today. So one, the first part is I'm going to take you down a few trends that I've seen of CIOs and folks that are implementing AI and this whole notion of AI and what we've seen in what I've seen in the industry as far as trends have gone along in the first, I'd say, for the last year. The second one is we're going to go a little bit deeper on this partnership that we have between Salesforce and AWS, because a lot of folks ask that question to say, wait, are you competitors? Are you partners? How do you partner? I'd love to learn more about that. And then the last one is where it's going to get a lot of fun, where I'm going to be able to grill and interrogate these three guys on stage over here. We'll learn more about the success that CrowdStrike has had in becoming an agentic enterprise. We'll also leave open time for Q&A, so think about all of those really hard, juicy, personal questions that you want to ask these gentlemen over here. I'll help facilitate that as well. Okay, so what I'm going to start with is a small introduction of who I am and why on earth am I on stage here. Besides the fact that Salesforce is sponsoring this event, and I happen to work at Salesforce. Now, a year ago, however, I was not working at Salesforce. I was sitting in your seat. I was working at one of the largest banks in Canada, and I was driving a massive technological transformation thing called personalization. Also, for a little bit, I was at TD Bank. And for a portion of time, I also ran all of digital for the Canadian bank. So I knew a thing or two about working with Salesforce. And so what happened was, part of my remit was the Salesforce stack, amongst many other technologies, as we were driving digital and creating these personalized experiences for customers. And Salesforce is notorious for wanting to put customer stories on stage, a little bit like what we're doing here, where if they've had a success with a customer, they invite them to come up, tell their story. So I was working at TD Bank. I got this invite from Salesforce to say, hey, Salesforce has this internal conference. It's for Mark Benioff and his top leaders, like 450 SVP plus will be in the room. And the 73,000 colleagues will be dialing in. It's like an internal employee thing. Would you come in and will you tell your story about what you drove at TD with personalization, with Data 360? And I said, sure, no problem. And they said it's in Hawaii. And I went, oh, if I must. So off I go. I fly to Hawaii. And I'm sitting there. They're asking me questions about the transformation, saying, how did you use Data 360? All the typical questions that they would ask to entice and incentivize their sales teams. At the end, I was asked one question. And that question was, Shivani, you've got Mark, who's sitting as far as you are in the audience. You've got his top leadership here. What advice do you have for them? Now, what you'll learn throughout today is I have zero filter, and I let it rip. I made it a stand-up comedy show. I said, you guys are like a timeshare. You set us up with really, really nice dinners, but we have to listen to someone talk about sales for 45 minutes, and maybe we'll get a nice dinner out of it, and we might get a gift. And I kind of went on and on and on about what my experience was. And I said, it's ironic that you're helping me put my customer at the center to drive personalization at scale, yet when I show up for a meeting with you, you bring 22 people, and I have to know who's Sales Cloud, who's Marketing Cloud, who's Service Cloud. And I went this is not how you do business. And so, when you're on a roll and you know that you should stop, but you just can't stop, that was what it felt like. And so then I finally stop, and Mark stands up, and he's a towering guy, and I'm very, very short. And he shakes my hand, and I get a standing ovation. I'm like, okay, so I'm not being escorted out. This is good news. As I am walking out of the venue, someone says, watch out, they're coming for you. And I think before I even got back to Toronto, which is home base for me, I had gotten the call to say, hey, Shivani, you've got a lot of opinions on how we engage with the office of the CIO. And with our shift now to AI and agentic and autonomous and Agentforce, we'd really like your help in helping us better understand our customer. And so now I'm at Salesforce, and I'm leading, my title is a bit vague. Ultimately, I'm leading our go-to-market strategy for how we engage CIOs. And these are enterprise-level CIOs, because we just don't do it right, or we hadn't done it right. And we weren't necessarily seen as a serious player in the AI space. And so We've been doing a lot of CIO events. What ended up happening was I joined, and I do a lot of speaking. I share all of this because in the last year, and I just hit my 1-year anniversary on November 18th with Salesforce, I have met with over 457 enterprise CIOs. And these are not just high shaking hands, but these are deep conversations through one-to-many engagement events where I may be either meeting with them one-on-one and helping them guide them on their strategy of where they want to go, how they want to get there, or just general education on not necessarily products and sales, but what this era that we're in. And the number one insight that I've seen as we are going through this technological revolution, the number one insight is that AI is the smallest, biggest word. And what I mean by that is, I can't tell you how many conversations I'm having with CIOs, or I'll be in a room with tech leaders. It could be anyone, tech leaders, and you'll have like the sales team here, you'll have tech leaders here, you'll have data folks here. And everyone is using the word AI. Everyone. Good, that's the conversation we want to have. But if you listen very carefully, one person may be talking about predictive AI. Another person talking about generative AI. Another person thinking they're talking about agentic AI, and if you listen to the words really carefully, they're literally just describing generative AI. And so that was a massive aha for me to say, like, I don't know how well people are being prepared to think about architectures of the future if they haven't really paused for a moment to really fundamentally think about the architectural differences between generative AI versus agentic AI. And then you know that study hits, that MIT study that creates a lot of noise around 95% of pilots are failing to deliver value. Well, that's on generative, that's not on agentic. So this is just the setup. And what's happening is, so these CIOs are having these conversations, they're rushed to try to get a use case in production, and now all of a sudden, what's happened is it's not, unlike the internet or cloud or even mobile, the CIO was squarely in charge and was delivering this for the organization. Now suddenly with every board member and every CEO having access to ChatGPT thinking they are an AI expert, they're going, I need a use case in production. I need a story to tell my investors. I need to get something in production. Their business leaders are putting this pressure. Suddenly these leaders are under immense pressure to just get a use case in production. And they're going through these thoughts to say, should I build, should I buy? What's the use case that I should get in? And one thing that I've seen in terms of maturity, and again, in a year, and this maturity I've only really seen in the last 2 to 3 months, is as people pause and recognize the difference between generative architecture versus agentic architecture that would enable a digital agent to traverse the virtual halls of your organization, I'm seeing the shift of build versus buy conversation, that also evolve a little bit. And it's changing from one of, should I build from scratch? And I would giggle when someone said, I'm going to build my agentic architecture from scratch, going, like, do you really know what that means? That's a lot. So it's shifting from build to buy, from that to now talking about, should I be going with a SaaS provider? Should I be going with a cloud service provider? And so this has really been the conversation of what is it that you're trying to build? What are you trying to drive? Understanding the core differences between predictive, generative, and agentic. And I'll give a moment because I love it when I see cameras out to take pictures, and I'll flip the slide as soon as you've got those. Okay, good. It's like popcorn. I wait for the popcorn to stop popping. Perfect. And so now this is giving rise to another conversation to say, should I go with the SaaS provider? With the SaaS provider, I can build at scale, I can build at speed. They're going to provide me templates. It's going to be grounded in my business logic. So you think about the Salesforce platform, we have all of your customer data. So theoretically, being able to create agents that are leveraging your customer data, it's in a clean spot. That'll be a fast way to do it. And they're going to be ready-made with guardrails because Salesforce already has all the guardrails that are built within the system. But then you've got another cohort of folks that say, well, Salesforce is kind of like a CRM company. My COO, my CMO cares about them. I'm not really going to look at Salesforce for agentic agents. And you've got those that are thinking, I'm going to go with a hyperscaler, a cloud service provider. They're going to give me the options to choose my models. I'm going to be able to build custom agents that I really need and want throughout my organization, and with customer security architecture. And this is where we're starting to see more stories like the one we're going to share with you today, is there is a world where both could exist. And that is a world where you start to look at partnerships, the better together story of Amazon or AWS and Salesforce coming together, where you can start to take all of that rich data that you have on customers, be able to harmonize that, create agents that operate with context. You've got model options. So again, as a customer, I often thought, oh, Salesforce is like a beast. It's a monolith. They want me to put everything in it. They want to be at the end-all, be-all. But the reality is, choose your lake, choose your warehouse, choose your model, choose your partner. And so there's been a lot more of that aha moment where folks are going, I didn't realize that I could do this and this to bring it together. Being able to create a unified agent strategy, being able to create these multi-agent ecosystems, and all with the trusted guardrails that are extended beyond just the Salesforce ecosystem and the AWS ecosystem. And the partnership benefits are well beyond even what you're seeing just here on slide. That's really what I wanted to share, and really talking about CrowdStrike, how CrowdStrike is now an agentic enterprise that has taken this leap forward with both Salesforce and AWS to start creating these agents that are going to operate at scale. And it's with that partnership and the Salesforce Agentforce 360 platform that they've been able to get context, clarity, the richness that's necessary, and the safety and security and guardrails for those agents to operate at scale. All right. Now, chapter 2, I'm going to hand this off to Rushi, my friend, who's going to tell us and go a little bit deeper on that partnership between AWS and Salesforce.
Thank you, Shibani. Good afternoon. I'm Principal Solutions Architect at AWS, and I think since last few months, I've been working very closely with the product and engineering team at Agentforce, specifically help guide on the model optionality and the agent interoperability integrations on AWS. So these are one of the 2 key topics of today's session, so let's dive in. Now, before I get into the further part of it, I want to bring first thing is that for building any agentic enterprise, you need a trusted data to fuel your AI agents. And by this time, you must have known, looking at the Agent 360, that Agentforce works on this trusted data. It runs on this trusted data. Now, as we have established that trusted contextual data is critical for any agent to work, the next logical question comes is, how about giving the empowerment for the users to choose their preferred AI models? When it is, like if you look at an agent is powered by the LLMs or the backend models. So to do that, Salesforce just launched, I think 2 months ago, support for Anthropic Claude Sonnet model on Bedrock. This enables the joint customers or our customers to keep the data within the Salesforce trust boundary, right? And this helps actually, specifically when it comes to thinking about the models which be used here, you will make sure that the data never leaves the trusted boundary, right? Now that we have kind of, if you look at the various LLM flexibility we have here, in the prompt builder, in the lateral reasoning engine, we can select a bunch of models from the Amazon Bedrock. So with LLM flexibility, our customers can now have, I would say, rather maximum control on their security when building the agentic enterprise. So now that we talked about the unified data strategy or the model choices for powering your AI agents, now let's think about taking this digital labors to the next level, like coming up with a unified agent strategy. And how do you do that? So this is done through the way, if you think about, Agentforce now actually supports the agent, could say multi-agent orchestration. And multi-agent orchestration is possible through few things, right? So one of the things is that if you as a customer, in order to build an agentic enterprise using Salesforce and AWS, what you have to think about here is that the Agentforce with MCP client support can now talk to the MCP servers provided by AWS. And plus, the AWS MCP servers are also made available on the Salesforce Agent Exchange, which helps you to deploy your agents rapidly in a production environment, right? So this way, if you look at the other options which it has is the agent-to-agent collaboration. So agent-to-agent interoperability is based on Salesforce's, or you could say Agentforce's open agent collaboration, which is based on the standard protocol called as A2A, that helps the Salesforce agents or the agents for agents to talk to any other agents. So here, what we have shown is that you can talk to an agent sitting on Bedrock Agent Core. Bedrock Agent Core runtime is one of the serverless managed service from AWS to run and scale your agents. You can talk to those agents, or you can talk to any third-party agents. And also, coming up in very recently, we can think about is also the tools which the other agents can call, assuming that the Agentforce agent is as a tool, so they can call those tools through the Agent Core gateway. That will help you to route the tool traffic to the Agentforce agents. So with that, let me pass it on to Shibani and to our amazing CrowdStrike customer, a leading security provider, and an agentic enterprise now.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So this is a part where we're just going to get into conversation. And I'm short, so I'm going to like lean up so you can see me over there.
You can click few slides more.
Sorry, what's that?
You can click few slides more.
Yeah, yeah. So we're going to talk about CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is an agentic enterprise, and to ask and get deeper into those questions of how did they become that agentic enterprise? What were the aha moments that they went through as they were becoming that agentic enterprise? And think about the questions that you have. I have a couple of questions that I've got that are warm-ups, but this is an opportunity for you to learn from your peers and from those that are on the stage, both from an implementation, a partner, a platform SaaS provider, and our customer's point of view. The first question that I'm going to ask you is not on the script at all.
Really?
What's your guilty pleasure? So, and as you are introducing yourself, so maybe as you're answering the question, give a small intro of your role.
Awesome. Yeah.
Guilty pleasure. What is it?
So my guilty pleasure is chocolates.
Chocolates. Okay.
And dark chocolate specifically. So I'm totally up for it anytime during the day,
Noted.
during the night. So that's my guilty pleasure. So briefly introducing about myself, I'm Amit Bangat, Director for Go-to-Market Applications at CrowdStrike. I have been part of CrowdStrike for close to 3 years. I've been part of this ecosystem of Salesforce and go-to-market systems for more than 15 years. At CrowdStrike currently, I manage their platform, and I'm primarily, in this context, responsible for building those high-value agents, which not only bring operational efficiency, but also reimagine the complete end-to-end process when it comes to agentic enterprise.
Amazing. Thank you. Guilty
Mine?
pleasure. Yeah, go for it.
I think electronic gadgets,
Electronic gadgets.
Yes.
Any in particular?
specifically laptops.
Laptops, okay. Do you know, as a kid, my dad and I, every time Sony would release something, MP3 player, Laserdisc, we'd be the first to get it. So I get it. I get that.
Great, yeah. I mean,
obsession.
my son was behind buying a gaming laptop, so he was thinking about, hey, what's your budget? I said, no, let's look at the specification and then think about it. So that's how, I mean, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I have introduced myself. I've been with AWS around 6 years now, and I've seen a lot of AIML startups and ISVs I've worked with, and I'm happy to give my insights into how things work here, what questions you have. Good to understand that and explain it here.
Great. Praveen, guilty
Okay,
pleasure.
so I was going to use one of the guilty pleasures, which was already used. So I'm going to switch to the
Good.
other one that I got. I think it's anything and everything around Indian food.
Indian?
Oh, yeah, that's
really?
So if
That's
I go out,
that seems so healthy.
yeah, I know. Like
Okay, I'm going to give you my guilty pleasure. I'll tell you how it's done.
my daughter keeps telling me that I need to start losing weight, and then how I should not eat a lot of Indian food. But as you could imagine, that's
What's your favorite
that's what
Indian
happened.
food? So I know when next time you come over what I'm making.
Yeah, I think so. My favorite Indian food is anything which is spicy like, and non-vegetarian, like chicken or goat.
Got it. Noted.
Yeah. So as a quick introduction, I'm managing director in Deloitte. As part of my role, I primarily focus on like helping my clients with like business transformation engagements, which are focused on not only just driving the operational efficiencies, but like truly driving like revenue growth for my clients, right? And as we do that, I've been working with this Salesforce plus AWS ecosystem for a good part of like, I guess, 15, 16 years now. And prior to that, I was also working with the go-to-market systems. I used to help with implementation around like one of the old CRM solutions called Siebel, if you guys have heard about it. Mm-hmm. And internally at Deloitte, I also lead our what we call as a customer 360 practice, and considering like everything around AI, and then everything that we have discussed about like how data becomes the fuel and the food for AI. That has been one of the core areas that I've been focusing on, helping clients getting on that strong foundation that can help them scale their AI journey.
Great. Okay, so my guilty pleasure, let me tell you,
Yes.
since you all are so innocent,
Yeah.
bourbons and burger.
Ah.
So I'm coming from Canada, where if you aren't aware, there's no more bourbon on our shelves because of, for whatever reason there may be. So as every time I cross the border, I make sure that I get my share of bourbons and burgers.
Which brand is your favorite?
Woodford is good for every day.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for the
That's
everyday. Okay, now to get into the tough stuff. Amit, tell us about your team. Why is AI so important to your organization? What are you driving?
Absolutely. Yep. So I lead a team of a combination of engineers, testers, analysts, product owners, architects. So that's my team. But what's really important here is whom do we support, right? So we support our internal business teams across marketing, across sales, across customer success, legal, finance, product, etc. Beyond this, we also build tech solutions for our customers and partners to use on their respective portal. So AI is not only important for us, it's a foundation of how we think about our 3 S's, right? So which is speed, scalability, as well as, speed, scalability, and strategy. So at its core, really, AI helps us to think faster, understand faster. So understanding the customer behavior, that's one. Then beyond customer behavior, the internal inefficiencies, right? So AI can surface this information with speed, and it's basically like thousands of analysts working for you and surfacing information, which otherwise would not come to the forefront, right? Beyond this, AI also helps you to basically act smarter, I would say. Be it your mundane day-to-day routine tasks that you're automating, or be it complex workflow simplification, AI helps you to focus and channelize the human energy where it matters the most in building relationships, then also just the experience, right? Beyond this, I would say not just tech, but AI is a game changer, right? So AI is a cultural shift, so it's super important for us.
Sounds like you've got a good balance between where you're focusing on colleague enablement, but also customer engagement, customer experiences. And it's important when organizations are thinking about it from both sides of the house, because it creates those more holistic, rounded use cases throughout the organization.
That makes sense.
Thanks so much. All right, Rishi.
That's
The Salesforce trust boundary. Why is that a non-negotiable requirement?
I'll start with a very serious note that when it comes to security and compliance of our customers' data, both Salesforce and AWS take them as priority number 1, right? So enterprises basically trust us. And when it comes to like a trust boundary, they want an absolute, whether it is like a user prompt or the intermediary workflow where the agentic AI workflow is trying to process the data, or the final AI response. All has to be done, or none has to be actually cross that trusted boundary, right? So together, actually, both, AWS and Salesforce designed and built a solution that meets the data residency and compliance requirements for our customers globally across 22 regions. And we are counting, I guess, right? So 24 or maybe something like that.
Yeah.
But the key thing here is that the customers, wherever the customers operate from, no matter, the world, we are making sure that, and we are assuring that your data remains within the trusted boundary that you have established with Salesforce.
So trust boundary really in data residency and ensuring the safety, security, stability of that data.
Yeah.
But also as you start to provision that data access to agents is ensuring that you've got that consistency. Particularly, I think about it in a world where you start to think of agents that are talking to other agents and how to ensure that same trust boundary across.
Yeah, it's both. I would say it's both north-south and east-west, for example.
Yep.
Agent to agent or agent to models. So you have to make sure that your customers' data are secure and compliant.
Right, thank you. Okay, one more for you.
Oh, yeah.
And you got the cheat sheet right there.
Oh,
so the integration, I'm not going to, you've got this. How does the integration with Amazon Bedrock ensure compliance for our joint customers?
So I'll start with first Amazon Bedrock, right? Amazon Bedrock provides you the secure connectivity to the frontier models like Anthropic Cloud, Amazon Nova, and others through a technology called as Private Link, which makes the entire application to talk to these models privately within the private network of AWS, right? And certainly, like if you look at the agent force, there are 2 modules which we talked about, the prompt builder as well as the reasoning engine. And these modules typically use agent force. If you look at these modules, these are using the Amazon Bedrock's models, right? Anthropic Cloud for the reasoning engine. And there is a bunch of models within Amazon Bedrock, like the Cloud Haiku, Opus, Sonnet, and as well as Amazon Nova, Nova Lite, Nova Pro. They're used in the prompt builder. If you have used prompt builder, that will give you model optionality. So depending on customer's preference, Agentforce also supports a feature called as in-country inference profile of Bedrock, which restricts the data to remain within the country where you're doing inferencing or you're running your agentic AI applications, right? So I would say the compliance rests on these 3 pillars. One is your secure connectivity to the model. Second is no data at rest. The third is, depending on the customer preference, they can pick and choose the in-country inferencing so that the data never leaves the country boundary.
Perfect. I'd love to do a quick poll just to see how many of you are Salesforce customers. I would imagine that you all are AWS customers. Or it might be easier to say, who in the crowd is not a Salesforce customer? Like, would this be news? Is this something that is coming as news to you, that, there is a partnership? Again, like as a customer, Salesforce didn't necessarily do the greatest job at the onset of talking about how open, extensible, adaptable the stack was. And it took a bit of finally convincing and getting time with the reps to say, okay, I didn't realize that we could choose a model, let alone from a library of models through partnerships like this. So this is pretty important for those that are starting to explore and understand, and really understanding how Atlas reasoning works, where Atlas reasoning is not the model, it's the one that helps to choose what is the right model fit for purpose, based on guardrails that a customer establishes.
Yeah, I would say it's a true multi-tenant environment. I mean, Agentforce to scale to these multi-tenant requirements of model optionality, tool optionality and other things, is really based on your own requirements. I mean, these tenants have given those requirements to us.
Yeah. Okay, Amit, what are your primary drivers that made you choose Anthropic on Bedrock on Agentforce? There would have been a plethora of options.
Yep.
Why this combination?
Yeah, I think we had 3 primary drivers. One is the data residency and compliance in general. This model ensures that the data stays within the Salesforce managed trust boundary and it does not leave the trust boundary, which is critical for organizations with strict data compliance requirements, like such as ours. That's one. Second driver is, in general, the security first architecture from Claude, right? So Claude is known for a constitutional AI, which emphasizes a lot on transparency, on safety, and less hallucination risk. This just gives another layer of reliability index for us. So that's driver number 2. And third key driver is meeting people where they are. Like, for example, in Salesforce, in Slack, right? When deployed via Agentforce, Claude actually runs on Salesforce infra, which offers tight control over the prompt execution as well as the model behavior. So those were our key drivers.
Yeah, and there's a lot of native integrations, I think ultimately is what you're wrapping it around, is to say this is, again, how the conversation had evolved with a number of CIOs over the course of the year to say, no, Salesforce, I'm a build shop. To then recognizing, hang on a second, what exactly do you think that you're building when you think about all the individual tiles that are necessary to build agentic architecture, to then exactly what you're describing is this, I really want to think of a partner that's going to have native integration, someone that's going to do the work for me, someone that I've already got the stack that is constantly upgrading, updating, and agentifying the stack that I have and building those partnerships. And so all the more reason that we really wanted to show up to make sure that people really recognize that we've got this better together story. Now, I know I've got more questions, but I also want to open it up to the crowd because we can mix it up with the crowd and then go back to the questions that I've got. Is there any questions that we've got in the audience? Yeah, okay. I don't know if we've got a mic runner or if you want to just yell it out.
Yeah, so on the question of the multi-model and the ability to choose a model.
Yeah.
And I guess one alternative here is to use the Bedrock as Salesforce engine. But what I don't understand, and we've been kind of looking a little bit at the Salesforce and AI and so on. I'm trying to understand how, you've trained obviously on something, right? Whatever your existing chatbots, everything are. We've got data sitting, potentially in your Salesforce pattern. But we're making a choice of a different model. How is that model operating against the data that happens to be in your environment? That I cannot reconcile.
So I'll take this up. Yeah. There are 2 types of machine learning techniques here. One is on the predictive models, where the models are trained on your data, which is in the Salesforce, which you are training themselves to give some predictions or some kind of attritions or some forecast, right? That is a different aspect. This is an agentic aspect. In the agentic world, the agent is a set of instructions, or you could say user context and the user query, right? That orchestration is using a backend LLM, and the backend LLM nowadays are so powerful that you don't have to train with the customer's data. The LLMs can make and decide based on the user query. Let's say if someone wants to take a time off, and they want to go and call multiple tools for that. So that intelligence is in the model, that if a query comes with this particular agent instruction context, then what tools I should be calling to complete that particular task. So that way, so to coming to your point, the models which are behind the choices which we are giving those models for, those are the frontier models which are quite intelligent to come up with the workflow given the right instruction, right context. That context, that trusted data is what Salesforce is providing as part of the in-flight data to the model. It's nothing to do with that models are trained or not. The thing which are surely is coming in the middle are the trust layers, right? So those models are trained for specific toxic detection or prompt injection. Those are something, it has to be a proprietary models. But coming to your point, the model optionality is for those LLMs which are giving these workflows.
And the other thing that I would say is, again, that's coming in now is this idea that you don't necessarily want non-deterministic responses. And so the ability to have adaptive reasoning and to be able to put in parameters against those models and against the instructions where you want a finite and definitive response versus where you do want the LLM to be able to reason, to think, to consider what the response options should be.
Let me expand a little bit on this.
Yeah, and if folks, we're going once the question's asked, we'll just make sure that everyone can hear. If not, whoever's taking the answer can.
If we take the same concept and talk about, company data, which helps you ground in the truth of, what the fact is, and not training the LLM by using that as a ground of fact, but changing the choice of an LLM, right? You could be on a DeepSeek today, and you could be on somebody else tomorrow. Changes the perception or changes the response of what you may have spent building in 6 months to a year. Right now you're changing because there's a better model, cheaper model, right? It's performing well, and it's more data efficient than the other one is. So you see some incremental gains with that, but there's a whole lot of pipeline building work now needs to happen.
Yes.
So I think that's where we got, we're part of the same thing. So this is where we, in interaction with Salesforce, could not wrap our head around to say, how are you guys solving this? And we never were able to have that clarity.
Yeah, so by the way, we have a...
And sorry, just quick question. Did the folks on the ends of the room hear it? Okay, can you...
Got the question clearly?
Yeah, paraphrasing the question.
Yeah, so the question was about, when you're building this agentic AI system, a low-code, no-code environment, right? How are you giving model optionality without making big workflow or pipeline changes? Because every other model has a different tone, different way of responding to a particular request, right? I will not answer in deep, but there is a session on that. ISV 309, please do come on that part. But the thing is that it's all possible because Salesforce thought this way ahead, and they built all these things so modular, and having a different or complete dedicated data scientist team also helps a lot. So this is, combination of these two, bringing modularity, bring some adapter level things, which you can always choose the target model. Even when you're describing the agent actions or descriptions, right? If you make it AI assisted, that makes it easier for the target model to interpret.
All right, we'll go back to some of the questions we have. Think as this is hopefully prompting you to think of other questions that you've got within your own environment, or just even broader questions on what we talked about in the earlier parts. Okay, Raveen, so what is the most tangible business impact clients are seeing when they implement Agentforce and AWS?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. But before I get to the exact response, let me take a step back, right? If we rewind back, like say 12 to 18 months, or maybe even like 8 to 12 months now,
Yeah.
every AI and Gen AI conversation that was happening in at least the conversations that I was having with my clients was essentially dominated by like a DIY thinking. Like, I want to do it myself, right? Like there was a lot of concern around like security, the compliance, and what it is at risk, right? Now, fast forward to today, and if you think about it, the landscape has changed drastically. Mm-hmm. Now the clients, for them, the focus is more on like obviously the cost, but more important than that is time to value. Am I able to deliver something to my stakeholders which can really drive the value for them? And with that context, now a lot of clients have started reevaluating what is feasible. And that reevaluation is leading to like, hey, maybe there is, obviously we all knew, like most folks in this room probably knew that like doing it yourself or like building everything in-house is not the smartest and never has been the fastest way to get the value. because there are like these big players like AWS and Amazon, they are investing heavily in the innovation and coming up with all these frameworks, inner connectivity and all those things, and that make a huge, huge difference. So now there is a lot more appetite for customers to consider these like very credible alternatives that can drive the value while also getting them like giving them the trust boundaries and the frameworks that they can use for scaling it at a pace that can drive the value for their business. So where are we right now and what I'm seeing from my customers? I would say like there are like 3 or 4 things that I would call out. But number one theme is about like time to value, like faster time to value. Like, am I able to deliver something for my stakeholders which can drive the immediate value? And then the other thing that is like the key thing that is really originating from all of this is we started with like a lot of like point AI use cases, right? We almost started like thinking about like automation in an agentic sense, like what we used to do historically as automation of like predictive things, and then that's what we called as like a agentic behavior. But now it has become more like, hey, I can reason with it, right? And I'm able to drive this value, and then I can do this at a scale and at a speed which my teams can like literally deploy some of the AI-infused capabilities or features for a particular subset of the group in days or weeks as compared to months and years that we had to do it. That's number one theme. I think the second theme that I would talk about is operational efficiencies. And I think this goes back to that automation concept, right? What has happened is like the mundane tasks that we used to do, and those are repetitive tasks. A lot of clients are like essentially evolving towards like, hey, these are the things that I don't have to have my resources spend a lot of time on that. I want to free up my teams to do more strategic work that can truly lead to my like revenue growth. And then the third thing that I would say is around like essentially cost optimization of like doing something like this, while also having the flexibility and agility to scale in different areas where you want to scale. So I would probably stop there with 3. There are a lot of other things that I can talk about, but those are like the top 3 themes and the real benefits that clients are seeing. And there are clients who are like really making that like shift. Like it's almost like a tectonic shift now, right? Where you are like very concerned and you are like, hey, should I do it or not? What if it goes wrong? To a point where, hey, I want to do it. Tell me how to do it the right way.
And what you've talked about is specifically like from a use case perspective, value, time to value, efficiency, effectiveness, experience, risk and control. I think the partnership brings so many more benefits in the how you also do it, whether it is the fact that you can now purchase Salesforce through AWS Marketplace. Like it's not just the what that you're implementing, it's the how. It's that there is an agent ecosystem or the agent exchange where you've got agents that you can now get that are pre-built through AWS and through Salesforce together. So it's a lot of the what and the how, I'd say.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think like and again, just going back to like what has really fueled this tectonic shift is like this powerful alliances and the partnership and the inner connectivity between different platforms. Obviously, we are talking about Salesforce and AWS here, but the similar thing is happening with like Salesforce, Google Cloud, like there is a Microsoft doing their own thing. So all these big platforms have like come together and they have forged these partnerships because now everybody is realizing that like, hey, you can't really do it all by yourself. Doesn't matter how big you are, whether you are Amazon, Google, or like Apple, like everybody is realizing there is a need to partner and collaborate with each other.
But here, the partnership is most important is Salesforce and AWS.
For sure.
That's the only one
for sure.
talking about here.
I agree.
I have not heard about that.
I didn't hear anyone else. I didn't hear any other name in that response. Amit, what governance factors are important to you when you're choosing to deploy Agentforce on AWS?
Yeah, so beyond just security, there are 3 key governance factors for us. One is control, then compliance, and then finally collaboration as well.
The 3 Cs.
Yeah, the 3 Cs is easier, right? The 3 Cs. So when it comes to compliance, first of all, right? So this model basically contains the traffic, the LLM traffic within the virtual private cloud of Salesforce, right? So the data is isolated, it does not leave the private environment. Couple it with data isolation and the policy of Claude to not retain any data, it just helps us to know, it just improves the compliance posture for us to know that this data is not being used to train the model itself. So it's added layer of privacy. That's like one area. Second is when it comes to control, this model also gives us access to the command center, right? So with command center, we can control and we can also monitor agents real time for their performance, especially their error rates, right? Or their escalation paths. So this is super important for us. Beyond this, the third aspect is obviously collaboration, right? We talked a bit about agent to agent, right? So agent collaboration is very real. So agent built on Agentforce is expected to collaborate with the agent built with a totally different LLM and totally different ecosystem seamlessly. So basically, this model checks all the boxes for us, and with the use of A2A as well as MCP protocol, this absolutely helps us, right? So it fits right well into your enterprise strategy.
Great, great. And you talked about Command Center, going on to a small tangent for a moment. Like the Command Center, you talked about it, but like the importance of it, again, as CIOs or tech leaders would think about build versus buy, these are the things that they wouldn't think about necessarily. To say, am I also going to build the interface that is going to allow me to test, if I'm building it from scratch, that's going to enable me and allow me to test it, or the interface that allows me to do, I think about an agent. So generative being a co-pilot, something that's sitting on the side that's helping me. I type it and it helps me do something. With the co-pilot, with agentic being like a colleague, a virtual colleague that's traversing the halls of my organization. Now, when I joined Salesforce, I needed all the things that this agent needs, including the quarterly check-ins that are happening post 1 year in the job. And that Command Center acts as a bit of that quarterly check-in to say, is this digital worker performing the way that they were expected to perform? So just underscoring that point. It's very important. I'll take one more, and then we'll open it up to the crowd again. Amit, back to you. So what mechanisms are you putting in place to ensure control, auditability, and prevent agent sprawl? Agent sprawl, my goodness, like this feels like it's real. I can only imagine that you are being inundated with every vendor under the sun going, well, I've got an agent for you. No, I've got an agent for you. So what do you do?
Absolutely. I think this is a really, really important question, especially for organizations who are adopting autonomous AI at this point. And it's not an easy answer to this, right? So you need like a multi-dimension framework to address this. It's a combination of people, process, and technology, I would say. When it comes to control, first of all, to ensure that the agent is indeed responding or actioning within the boundaries and with human intent for those high priority or really critical use cases, like for example, processing a payment, right? So you always need a human in the loop initially, right? Till you get a lot of confidence with this particular framework, right? So that is really, really important. Beyond that, I think it's very important to have like a stop switch and a rollback mechanism for an agent if you see that it's either hallucinating or let's say it's drifting a bit, right? So that is number 2, which is very important. And you also have to periodically just take a look into what is the data this agent is accessing, right? And just reassess and kind of build those guardrails around, just look at the security posture of this, the risk classification of this particular agent, right? And all the action that it is doing, and keep on readjusting. So that's very important when it comes to control. The second aspect is auditability. I think we talked a bit about auditability, but really auditability is all about, we should be able to trace everything back, every action and decision taken by the agent, back all the way to its origin, either for compliance purpose, that's one. And second is if there is an incident, the post-incident kind of analysis, right? So we talked a bit about command center, but then there is also testing center, which is really, really important. Beyond testing center, enhanced audit logs. Those are really, really important. And we at CrowdStrike, we love to use this information, process into a language that we really understand, so that we build those additional layer of traceability and detailed logging into the tool of our liking. So that's what we are doing.
All of this out of the box as you had invested in Agentforce.
Obviously, it starts there. We have all the information, and front-facing people are used to different layers, right? So we apply some layer, homegrown layer.
Yeah.
I think the third most important topic, agent sprawl, right? So again,
Yes.
this is a rapidly evolving space, so new terms are getting coined, right? So agent sprawl is basically proliferation of agent, right? I know folks might know here, but just reiterating, proliferation of agents, but agents which are unmanaged, unsupervised, redundant, right? The risk is, they might be security risk, number one. Second is there might be a lot of cost overruns with this agent. In order to avoid agent sprawl, it's very important that you build an agent registry. So agent registry is very simple, right? The concept is very simple, right? Like, what is the agent, right? What is the scope of the agent? What is the API scope of the agent? What is the data scope of the agent? What exactly is the risk classification of this particular agent, right? You need to have all this information. Beyond that, once you build an agent, you also need to outline its complete life cycle, right from the inception of agent all the way up to the decommissioning or archival of the agent. That's really, really important. These are a couple of areas which will help with the agent sprawl. Beyond that, I think the agent should also have some owners, right? And ownership is, it's going to be a shared responsibility, right? At this point, we are at a stage wherein business is super excited with the agentic world, so they want access to the agent. They want to build, because they look at it, it's a prompt, we can go and we can build something, they want to do it.
It's
right?
like RPA all
Yeah,
over again, Blue
yeah.
Prism all over again.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's very important to draw certain boundaries initially while you are on this journey, wherein an agent gets a business owner, right, who is responsible for mainly its value. And then agent also gets an IT owner who is responsible for its maintenance, right? I think it was a lot of talking, but if you combine this particular framework, I think this may avoid the chaos and help you run the agentic enterprise successfully.
Yeah. And I'll put in a shameless plug on behalf of Salesforce, is that this is exact agent sprawl, what you just described, what a lot of organizations are facing is exactly why we released MuleSoft Agent Fabric.
Yeah.
It's a capability that enables all, and we've got a question here, we'll come to you after. It's a capability that enables you to be able to look at agents that are not just Salesforce agents, not just Agentforce, but agents across the ecosystem and be able to put a layer of governance and control over those agents and the transparency.
Can you talk a little bit about your orchestration layer? Are you using the same models to manage your agent force? And also, have you noticed any emergent behaviors from your ecosystem? Actually, unattended behaviors?
Okay, so
No,
orchestration layer?
I think you should go for it.
Let me try to repeat your question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that for this agent orchestration, are you using a separate LLM for it, or yeah, okay. So, kind of you could say it that way, because there is always there could be a headless agent orchestration. There could be one agent which actually does all the distribution to the various other agents, like a main agent orchestrator sitting over top of it. So, yes, wherever there is an agent module, it has to be backed up by an LLM, but it also has to have a good agent SDK, like what Salesforce has its own agent graph, to come up with a very deterministic rule that what exactly and how exactly you're going to execute this particular task. We'll be calling multiple agents. So that particular combination of the right SDK and the right LLM at every other agent hierarchy, multi-agent hierarchy is important. So I would say, yeah, to answer your question, yes, there is a separate LLM for each of that, and those LLMs you could select in the model optionality part. I think the emergent behavior is it has to be really bidirectional, context sharing, and a lot of things which you need to really have in A2A type of communication. But I would say, yeah, these are some of the things which we are seeing that's trending is more of like agent-to-agent collaboration is more towards how those shared systems are, or how the systems are shared together, like all the way from, as Shivani mentioned about observability, governance, and other things. So that's coming up now. A lot of things are trending on that area where governance, observability, identity, these three things, I think I would say are key important roles.
Oh, I wouldn't say that it's a behavior, but it is an insight that has come. I think just to back it up, agentic or autonomous agents have only existed for a year. Like it hasn't even existed for a long time. Like it's as old as I am at Salesforce. One of the patterns that has emerged is I think early days of agentic architecture, autonomous agents, there was this idea that they're non-deterministic. You ask them a question using these LLMs, it'll give you a response. You ask that question again, based on the context that it gains, it might answer it slightly differently. Well, one of the patterns that emerged was actually there are times where you don't want autonomous agents to answer a question inconsistently. And that's where adaptive reasoning really came into play. I think that I'd say maybe 4 months ago, where there was a greater focus to say, no, there are times when, particularly in a highly regulated industry, there is no discretion in how a question is answered. It's black and white. And so that is something that's been really emerged, or a pattern that I've seen that, again, at Salesforce, we've doubled down on that to ensure that we've got adaptive reasoning, meaning where you want a consistent response, you have the ability to hard code that in. Where you want there to be some autonomy, some thinking, like mimicking the patterns of a human, that you can also enable that. Okay, I'm gonna go on to the next one that I've got. Rushi, how does the combined power of Agentforce and AWS help teams enforce AI governance and guardrails? And you could see that governance and guardrails, like this is a pretty big theme that we've come out with, because this has been top of mind for a number of the tech leaders that all of us have been speaking with.
So I think, Amit, you talked about a bit on that part. Let me expand and show my perspective here, that AI governance, specifically in the Agentforce stack, is 3 integrated layers. At the application layer, it's a Agentforce trust layer that comes into picture, which does like data masking of PII data or prompt injection detection, toxicity detection, and also does a complete audit logging at all Agentforce interaction, adhering to all the organization policies at every touch point, including the agent interoperability, right? At the second layer, which is basically the model layer, so Agentforce using Anthropic Claude Sonnet on Bedrock, which is basically the Anthropic Claude model is built on, as you mentioned, the constitutional AI principle to be helpful, harmless, and honest by default. So this actually helps reduce the non-compliant or toxic data, even triggering the Salesforce trust layer. It gets activated before that, right? So it gets a double protection in your thing. And the third thing which I will talk about is, in addition to that, I would say Claude Sonnet is also very strong at instruction following, right? That will help to do a kind of a reliable, adherence to the organization policies. Now, the last layer, which is the inferencing layer, which is on the Bedrock, and some of the trust models runs on the Amazon SageMaker in the private network of Salesforce, that gives you like a complete control about your data not leaving the trust party. More importantly, it also gives you good traceability, good auditability, and then I think good visibility to this entire thing, so entire governance stuff. So I would say, just to summarize this, it's a kind of a defense in depth approach where our customers are getting, it's a complete visibility and control on the AI behavior with compliance, audit logging, and all those aspects available to them.
Fabulous. Okay. Praveen, back to you. Top 3 steps Deloitte is recommending to clients to quickly and effectively enhance AI data governance.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's also timely because I think we have spoken about the governance throughout this.
Yep.
Amit covered it, part of it. You mentioned some of it as well. I think obviously for all the right reasons, every enterprise is trying to get on the agentic enterprise journey. And as they do it, obviously for all the right reasons, because there is like a huge business impact and the benefits that could be gained from that. At the same time, there is also need to recognize the risk associated with it, like if you don't do it right. And some of the key things that obviously one of the very first thing that we did at Deloitte, and this is almost like 24 months back, we defined what we called as a trustworthy AI framework. And that's what we take to our clients. And obviously if you go to like Deloitte.com or like Google it, you will find like more details around it. But the top 3 things that we recommend to the clients based on the experience is, number 1, is you need to define and stand up your AI governance framework. And needs to be a recognition that AI governance is no more like a security or IT team's program, whatever the word is. It's not their own ownership anymore. You need to recognize AI governance as a business problem, and it needs to be dealt as a business problem.
Well, if you think
of
it
you need
as
to solve
as
a business problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then you need to have that top-down buy-in from your leadership, and that's one of the things that I like when we work with Amit and his team at CrowdStrike. Is there is this top level, like right from CIO down, there is a full buy-in on like we want to be on the agentic path. We want to be an agentic enterprise, and we are invested in making it happen the right way. The second thing that I would say is obviously making sure you are defining your overall data governance, and then make sure you create a visibility of your data's life cycle. What that means is from the standpoint of documenting all your data sources, where the data exists, what elements of that data you are using, in what context would they be used in your models, how they enter into the models, and what happens from like the time they enter into the model to getting into the outputs that it generates, right? And having that like inventory of like your data and creating that visibility creates that trust with your stakeholders. If you don't earn that trust upfront, then you're gonna struggle with like getting that adoption from your business stakeholders,
right,
and even your customers. And then I think the third, maybe I will say four things, but the third thing is more around like making sure you are automating some of your ongoing continuous monitoring of what Amit was mentioning, right? You cannot really rely on somebody doing it periodically or some human trying to do those audits for you. You have to like automate it, make it proactive, and make sure you get those proactive alerts. And if something is going wrong, you can define your thresholds around like what is your hallucination threshold, what is your error threshold, and if those thresholds get breached, the system is able to alert it, and you are able to course correct quickly. And the last thing that I would say, and this is going back to the point that Amit was making around like agent sprawl and like documenting all the agentic use cases. One of the things that we tell to the clients, and we have had these conversations with Amit as well, is documenting your agentic use cases, but also documenting all the models that you are using, and make sure you are not creating another terminology that is in the industry right now is shadow AI.
Yes.
So you don't want to have the shadow AI. Somebody wanted to do something fancy because they liked it, and then nobody knows about it. And if you don't know what you are trying to protect, you are not going to protect it.
Right.
So that's the key. So those are the four things that I would say are the top things, but obviously we can talk more. Like this is one of the topics where we can keep talking about.
Well, good.
Yeah.
And for those that are in the crowd, if anyone does have a question, we'll make sure we corner these gentlemen, make sure we keep them behind so you can ask any of the questions that you've got. Okay, one more. Amit, I know because we're getting down to the clock. Tell us about your journey with Deloitte, your path to success with Agent Voice, AWS, Deloitte. Like just this is a open, more broader question.
Absolutely, yeah.
Were you going to do it on your own? Did you decide to do it with a partner? Like, how did you get to that?
It's an exciting partnership equilibrium, right? So Deloitte has been a trusted partner for CrowdStrike. It's been years.
Yeah.
And Deloitte brings those transformative mindset right on the table, helps us think outside of the box. When you guys are starting with your agentic journey, you really have a few options. Like you can train your internal team. That's number one. Second is you can hire new talent, right? Third is you work with a partner, and the partner can really give you a jump start, or rather slingshot, I would say, because I mean, this is that era, right? So they can bring in the governance leadership, the execution acumen, and that's where Deloitte comes in, right? So we started our journey on agentic pretty recently, but looking at the output that we have delivered the past quarter and what comes ahead in the next fiscal year and coming quarters, I'm really, really excited about the roadmap, right? Our strategy is very simple. A is, we give those tactical accelerators to business folks, right? One that they ask for, right? And beyond that, we don't lose sight to the wider agentic roadmap, right? So we want our business teams to really reimagine their existing workflows as well, and really come up with a very different mindset and open mindset to agentify stuff, right? So, and I think the path to success is exactly the same, right? Like it's not only delivering the strategic, like high efficiency gains in like a quick turnaround time, that's number one, but at the same time also ensuring that the wider processes are reimagined via agentic lens.
That's great. And again, while agentic autonomous might have only existed for 1 year, partners like Deloitte really bring the learned experiences from even generative implementation, AI at broad implementation. They see it across all of their clients. They bring it to you.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you. Any questions from the crowd before we? Yes.
So what's the role of the data cloud versus AWS? And I know you have different organizations, right? The Sales Cloud and multiple Salesforce clouds. Right?
Yes.
So what's the role of?
So I can. Oh, look at this. We're getting the curtains. We've got 6 seconds left for that question. So Data 360, now Data Cloud is called Data 360. I'll do the very quick version of it. You have a lot of data lakes and warehouses. Like at my organization, I had Azure, I had Databricks, Snowflake. But all of those lakes and warehouses, you couldn't actually extract data to operationally leverage that data to activate it across your ecosystem. What Data 360 or Data Cloud ended up being was a thin activation layer. It wasn't a lake, it wasn't a warehouse. It has zero copy, meaning the data stays within those lakes and warehouses. Through a zero copy partnership, you could extract that data, you could activate it, you could use it, whether it's for personalization, whether it's for an agent to perform actions, and it would remain in the respective lakes and warehouses. The other clouds, those are just products. I don't know why. We're changing that as well. Like Marketing Cloud is just a suite of modules that enable marketing in a more efficient way. Sales Cloud is your CRM. Service Cloud is like workflows and case management as examples. Okay, friends. I want to thank you all for sticking. We got right to the end. Got a couple of questions from the audience. I want to thank you all for today, and I want to thank the crowd as well. Really appreciate it. Again, we'll be outside lingering.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.